It's a question that still bugs this investor. As a teenager, working a summer camp job, had he took $500 and put it in the stock market in 1996, what would it be worth today? It's a lesson that Vaughn Crowe learned early in life, and we'll see how he's applying it to the venture capital space. You're in the Enterprise Zone at the Nasdaq. Hello everyone, this is Jabari Young, senior writer at Forbes, and you're in the Enterprise Zone at the Nasdaq. And I'm joined by a special guest. His name is Vaughn Crowe. He is the co-founder and managing partner at NVP Capital. And NVP Capital is a early stage venture capital firm based in the New York area, looking for AI enterprise software companies. They got some exclusive news. Vaughn, thank you so much for making a trip to the Nasdaq, man, for the second time, right? Second time.
It's second time's a charm.
Second time's a charm,
Yeah,
man.
thanks for having me, Jabari.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for coming, man. And listen, before we jump into the business and before we start, man, how's fatherhood, right? You have stepchildren now, man, and, you know, taking on that role. I have a 12-year-old. I'm always curious to see how fatherhood is treating people, man.
Well, the good thing is I've got a great partner, Cecily Crowe. Fatherhood for me is like leadership, hanging out, having fun. Good thing is they're adults.
Yeah.
So they're not really on the payroll. They're still on the payroll, but like there's a way in which we can manage that.
Yeah.
But it's been great, man. That's a part of the journey of life for me, to see these kids perform, be productive in life, and for me to have a small role in their current and their future. It's actually pretty cool, and I'm honored that Cecily invited me to be part of that family.
Yeah, I love it, man. Getting cool points with the wife. I love it. Starting off early, getting cool points with the wife. I love that. Vaughn, listen, man, here we are at the Nasdaq, so you got to give me a stock, man. What is something that has worked well for Vaughn Crowe? Something that you may tell your kids, hey, listen, you may want to pay attention to this stock. Look into it, man. Give me a stock.
Well, I like the FANG stocks today, right? Like, we'll come back to that 1996 moment in a moment. But I like those FANG stocks. So if you're into the consumer space, you can't go wrong with a Facebook. If you're into like enterprise and all of what's happening around AI, you can't go wrong with NVIDIA. Those are my personal picks. I'm sure my financial advisor will have some other perspective for me, but that's where I'm leaning into right now because I use it every day. I see the power of what NVIDIA is happening throughout the world. So that's what I'm excited about right now.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with NVIDIA, man. I mean, listen, AI chips, I mean, that's just the future right there.
That's right.
Soundtrack to 2025, right? What's been keeping Vaughn Crowe motivated? What's been keeping you like really excited as we head into 2026? About 2 months left here as we talk in November.
Yeah.
But what's been your soundtrack to the year?
Yeah, so like I'm an 80s baby.
Yeah.
But I'm a 90s hip hop guy.
Love it.
And so I'm in the gym, I'm walking to work, it's a short walk, but I'm walking to work in the mornings. I've got, Reasonable Doubt going. I'm a big Redman, like Muddy Waters guy. I'm also like quietly, I'm like a Beehive adjacent, right? So like, that country album, a lot of what B has done, from a business point of view, I love her as well.
Yeah.
But like, you don't get mad at me if you see me in the gym and I'm bopping to something that being produced. And then like, I'm a big like, so my family comes from a musical background. I'm the only one who doesn't play an instrument, who doesn't sing and doesn't perform. So my brother, shout out to Clinton Crowe, has a rap album.
Okay.
And so that's constantly in my ear because family means a lot to me.
What's his rap name?
Clinton Crowe.
Clinton Crowe.
Yeah,
so he used the same name as the rap name.
So if you get to know me long enough, I'm one of 6.
Yeah.
We all have the initials VEC. I'm Vaughn Eric Crowe. He is Vince Evan Crowe. Clinton Place and Hawthorne Avenue in Newark, New Jersey is where we grew up. So his hip hop name, he took Clinton and added it to his surname, his last name, which we're very proud of, which is Crowe.
Love it. Love it, man.
Download that.
Yeah, listen, I got to, man. I was with you with Jay-Z Reasonable Doubt. Like, that's always playing in my ear, but I might have to get some Clinton Crowe, man. He might replace Reasonable Doubt.
I like that.
Yeah, man.
And so my brother.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Supporting him. You walk into a 5th grade class, and they say, hey, what is it that you do, Mr. Vaughn Crowe? What do you tell these 5th graders? And I know you've told me, you've answered that before, but what do you tell the new batch of 5th graders?
I want to reiterate, I answered it before because it's part of my life,
Yeah.
which is giving back. So walking into a 5th grade class is something that I get excited about to create some exposure. So for me, I walk in, I say, hey guys, I am trying to help folks make $1 out of 15 cents, which for my community folks resonate with that. The reality is what I tell them is like, listen, I am trying to catalyze dreams with capital, money, and resources. And such that these dreams that I'm trying to catalyze can become the NVIDIAs of today, or the NVIDIAs of the future, the Facebooks of the future, So I try to relate to them on companies that they are aware of, whether it's Nike, whether it's Facebook, because they're all on Facebook and Instagram, et cetera. But I tell them I try to catalyze dreams with capital and resources to make it very simple for what we're doing in my professional life.
Yeah. You don't lose them at all? Like they understand all the terminology? They don't say, what? What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like, hey, if I put $1 in, I'm trying to take 5 out. That's my business. And they get that. Well, you know, like I'm whether you're flipping homes, whether you're flipping dollars, right? It's the investment business. I'm trying to put as little in and trying to take as much out. And fifth graders get that because it's part of, at least where I grew up, it's what we kind of, we're surrounded by.
Yeah, well, listen, this is a country. This country runs on money capital, right? I mean, we're here at the Nasdaq. It runs on finances. But getting into a little bit of a Forbes exclusive here, MVP raised its third fund, you correct me, $80 million. Investors include Prudential Financial, Rutgers Endowment, Ford Foundation, Liberty Mutual, Bank of America. And again, this is an $80 million fund. A bit of clarity, understanding that this is fund 2, fund 3. Break it down for me. What's going on with this $80 million fund?
Yeah, clarity. $80
million raised.
Clarity is great. Excited to announce that NVP Capital, in its current form, raised a second fund with the investors who you mentioned, powered by them to go out and find amazing founders. We are on our second fund, which we recently closed, and excited to have a pretty good amount of dry powder to continue on that journey in backing investors. So to be very clear, I am the co-founder of MVP Capital. We've raised our second fund and actively investing out of that fund today.
Okay.
Yes.
How much assets under management total?
Well, you take the 2 funds that we've raised and the assets that have created a lot of value inside those 2 portfolios, proud to say to you that we are managing $200 million of assets under management. And that's a combination of the 2 funds we've raised and the value creation and the exits that we've had in that portfolio. So excited about what we're doing on this journey.
Absolutely. Now you said dry powder. How much dry powder are you working with now?
Yeah, so we probably have, the way our model works, Jabari, is we want to construct a portfolio of 25 to 30 companies. And to date, we have made 10 investments, which means we have roughly 15 more investments to go. Our average check size is anywhere between 1 and 3 million. So call it about $30 to $40 million of dry powder to invest in next generation companies.
Yeah. Before looking into the history, I want to stay with this 80 million raise that you guys had. Looking at the SEC filings, it was a 62 million initial raise, right? That closed March of 2025 this year. And now this right here added on to that total 80 million. This is closed. No other raises coming from this fund.
No, we won't be in the market until we earn the right to be so, but this fund is closed.
Okay.
We'll be back in the market at a point in the future, again, if we earn the right to do so, and that's by way of generating great returns and being trusted hands to our investors. But we're closed, and more importantly, we're actively looking for really good founders.
Yeah. 10 investments so far that you've made, 25 companies that you're looking for to round out this fund. AI enterprise software companies?
Yeah, so when you think of MVP Capital, you said it very well. We are, we're in the New York City area, and we are looking to invest in B2B software and vertical AI companies. And what does that mean, right? Like it's always a big question. What does that mean? So these under-digitized areas in financial services and in industrial, in healthcare, these are big parts of the GDP which still have, we think, a lot of running room to go and build, and those are the types of verticals and sectors we're looking for. And then chief amongst our investment thesis is backing just amazing people who kind of demonstrate the attributes of what we think to be greatness to help execute on that vision in building companies in those particular sectors.
Yeah, we look at the history of MVP, Vaughn. Me and you've talked about this over the last week. It was started as Newark Venture Partners, Newark-based accelerator. Went on to raise 44 million initially. In 2021, Forbes reported that there was an 85 million fund too. And then it went through the rebrand of MVP. Take me aside of the history, where you guys are now, and if the former owners, Don Katz and Ray Chambers, still involved with MVP today.
Love these clarifying moments. Today we are MVP Capital, New York City-based firm investing out of our second fund. There was a predecessor entity that was an accelerator.
Yeah.
Ray Chambers did not own it, and Don Katz was not involved. They were, Don in particular, he helped get this thing off the ground by catalyzing the corporate community to support this accelerator called Newark Venture Partners. I was an investor in that accelerator, a proud one. And then the lesson learned there was there's a massive opportunity for us to take advantage of these incredible relationships that we've built with the corporate community. Many of them are large corporations that are serving the global economy. And so we've now incorporated we've brought these corporations into our fold, referred to as the NVP Galaxy, which powers NVP Capital today. And that's what we're most excited about.
Yeah, so no more Newark Venture Partners, it is now MVP.
NVP Capital is what I am the co-founder and managing partner of today.
Along with your colleague, Dan.
Dan Borach and I started in 21, which we're excited about and happy to be on this journey with him and the team that we've assembled to go and execute on our mission.
Is there still any involvement? Is Don Katz still involved, the former founder of Audible? Like, is he still involved with the firm at all?
No. Don is a good friend, and we thank him for what he did as a founder, as a venture-backed founder of Audible.com. So he too relates to the power of what we are doing.
Yeah.
But the leadership of MVP Capital today is Vaughn Crowe and Dan Borach, experienced professionals and trusted hands.
Yeah. Why rebrand? Why not keep it Newark Venture Partners? Why go NVP Capital?
Yeah, so MVP Capital is homage to the history, but it's a pledge for the future. I'm from Newark, Dan's from the Village, so you can capture it there. But at the same time, what was important for us is to not be buttonholed into just being a Newark-focused firm. Those were a lot of the questions. So if we're going to execute on our mission of being a North American-focused firm, we should go and do that. And so therefore, rebranding such that founders, investors, and others, there's no confusion. And as we rebrand and as we announce to the world, MVP Capital raised its second fund, there will be additional clarity there.
Yeah. Early in the year, I remember calling up some friends in the VC space and asking around, hey, what do you guys see? What do you like? And it was a lot of skepticism, right? Family offices weren't really putting money into the VC space. Wasn't a lot of companies going IPO. I make those same phone calls again before me and you talk, and now the atmosphere seems to be one where investors are feeling like they have the upper hand. They have the buying power now. Now, founders are looking more for capital instead of hanging on to their valuation, right? Which is what we saw in the past. What does Vaughn Crowe see from the VC space here as we sit in November 2025? Is it better than what it was at the top of the year?
I see incredible opportunity. I see the measure oftentimes is like, are entrepreneurs building, right? That's a question mark. Like if they're not building, that means that we've lost a little bit of hope in the entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Are they building? Because you have a lot of immigrants who are being pushed out of our country and not being allowed in, and people are thinking that's messing with the ecosystem of what we are able to build today.
They're building, and the only way I can really judge that is by the activity that's happening, and then also our own pipeline. We have a pipeline of extraordinary founders, on both coasts, in New York City, as well as in the Bay Area. So what I'm excited about is, one, how founders and brilliant, smart people are looking at real world problems and tackling them with not point solutions. They're tackling with an idea that here's our wedge into a space, and we're going to go and build a big company. For example, we backed a founder who's building in the healthcare space. It's a couple years old, but when we backed him, it was like $20,000 of run rate revenue. Today, he's going to end up at $100 million. And he has taken the bumps and bruises of what's happening in Medicare and Medicaid, and he's figured out ways in which to continue to grow quarter over quarter. So yeah, some of the headlines are challenging. But what we're seeing today is like some really enthusiastic entrepreneurs, and my goal is to leverage the MVP Capital brand and our galaxy to go and get them and encourage them that we should be the firm of choice to back them early on in their journey.
What do you guys look for when you're investing? Like, are you looking at certain multiples? I mean, are you looking at traits? What exactly are you looking for before you say, all right, $3 million here, sign off?
So we're a couple things, right? We have a whole framework by which we invest, but I'll spare you the details on something that may be a little boring. How big is the market, right? Is there a real opportunity? Is it a need to have or a nice to have? And part of the value of having this galaxy that I referenced earlier in my comments is that they can help us point to where the puck is going, like, is this a need to have or nice to have, et cetera. But at the core of what we're looking for are really experienced founders, or who have what some will call an earned secret into a particular space. They've demonstrated a level of grit in their career. Maybe they served in the military, maybe they've played sports, maybe they've had a set of life experiences that have informed them as to their why, and they go and build a business. So market size, market opportunity, very, very important. But we lean in, because they're building so early, on the founder attributes of grit, resilience, competence, an earned view of a particular space, and that comes by way of interacting with founders at a particular time.
Yeah, and on the other side, you do have money to return. What are your LPs telling you? What are they saying? Hey, we want to see this because we just gave you our money. They gave you $80 million, right? You and your partner Dan. What are your LPs telling you that they want to see? When do they want to see it?
Yeah, the good thing about our partners and LPs, they understand the asset class that we're in. This is early stage venture. They have return expectations for MVP, but they also recognize that a dollar in isn't going to turn 5 out immediately. They recognize that this is a 10-year relationship, and they're looking for us to produce venture-like returns, which are anywhere at multiples of the capital that they gave us. So they have expectations of us to perform similar to the market, if not better. But the good thing in having great partners is that they recognize that this is kind of a long-term relationship, and it's a 10-year run. And we're fortunate to have good partners who understand what we're trying to build at MVP.
Yeah. Take me back to that young Vaughn Crowe, South Ward, Newark, right? Coming up at Hawthorne Ave. What was that like for you coming up in Newark?
I didn't know any better, and back then. I thought it was great. It's my parents, they grew up in the segregated South in North Carolina. My dad from Charlotte, my mom from Bolton. Like many Black Americans, they migrated to the north, and they found this place called Newark, New Jersey. It's a population of 300,000. The neighborhood I grew up in was the largest neighborhood in the city, home to the first Black mayor, home to the first Black United States congressman from New Jersey. And so there's a rich history and a proud heritage that I'm fortunate to have been part of. So as a young kid, I saw greatness as well as our own challenges, but that's what I was surrounded by, and it helped kind of create some structure for me today.
Yeah. What'd your mom do?
My mom was an amazing mother. She was a homemaker, and she retired after being a hairstylist after she had me. So one could argue I was her problem kid, or needed the most attention. And my dad was a hustler. I know you didn't ask about him, but part of the reason why she was able to stay home after I'm number 5 in the ladder of 6, he worked 2 jobs. And so it allowed for her to kind of create a life for me as a kid, to make sure I was dressed decent, going to school every day, and to do my homework, etc. She's still with us, and an amazing woman.
Yeah. What was that Vaughn Crowe like on a Saturday watching cartoons, right? What was your favorite cartoon? Like, what were you watching as a kid?
You know what's amazing? I was a Thundercats guy.
Thundercats?
Yeah. I was a Thundercats guy. But the other day I was at home, and I had a childhood moment because Woody Woodpecker was on. And like at a man of a certain age, mid-40s, I actually found myself having a cup of coffee and watching,
Sometimes I'll catch an old Popeye episode, and I'm the same way, right?
That's
like,
right.
You're like, wow, like they still play this song.
It brings back good memories.
Yeah, it does.
I had a pretty fun childhood, rich in experience, and a lot of learning, a lot of lessons learned.
Yeah, and here you go in Newark, right? And you're in high school, and in history class of all classes, your teacher was teaching you, right? Starting the class off, teaching you guys about the stock market. And that kind of motivated you to kind of, I guess, learn about money, how money works, right? How it grows. But again, you mentioned in an interview that you did about how that $500 you could have put in, if you saved your checks when you were working at summer camp, how that could have really multiplied in the stock market. When you think about it back at that moment, right, that history class, you go back and says, damn, I missed the moment.
Yeah, like, let's use that year of '96. That was a big year for a lot of things. It was the year that I got my first pair of Jordans. Here I am, captain of the football team, captain of the basketball team, got my first pair of Jordans. So if I could have done it back then, you got to put some money down on Nike.
Yeah.
I look at what the Jordan brand has done for the enterprise, right? In '96, my mom allowed me to go to Six Flags Great Adventure for the first time by myself with some friends. That was a big deal. And so I think Six Flags actually went public in '96, right? And so when I start to think about my childhood and what I was engaging with, and I would double down on the things that brought me joy, which was, hip hop, that's a different story. But Six Flags Great Adventure, it was awesome, right? And then also getting my first pair of Jordans and flexing on my guys as I was playing hoops. You go Nike and you go Six Flags.
Yeah, it was fun, but I think back at my childhood as well. And I was like you, Vaughn, right? Coming up in Philly, going to Lincoln High School, and you wanted those Jordans. And I had a job at Whole Foods, right? So I would go Whole Foods, collect. But I really wish I would have put it back in the stock. I wish. Now, I didn't have a history teacher teaching us like you did, but I really wish now today in business I would have went back and kind of done it. When you think about that moment and you look at where you are today, what lesson did you learn back then that you apply today, especially when it comes to money?
Yeah, it's never too late to invest. Like that is like the core message. And that, you're right, that history teacher, I think his name was Mr. Tram. He had us read the Wall Street Journal like every morning. And Nike was a pick, right? And whatever it was trading at back then, oh, it's too expensive, right? Or is it too late, right? The reality is, you're never too late to invest. I think we oftentimes feel like we're running out of time and we lose a lot of patience. But the lesson learned back then is if I had put money with Nike, if I had bought the stock of Six Flags when it went public, where would that $500 dollars that I earned at Life Camp be today? It's just like, don't be afraid. Kind of like face your fears and do it anyway. Take some risk, and it's never too late to get involved in investing in the public markets, the private markets, et cetera.
Yeah. And in 1998, you go off to Colgate University. Coming out of college, right? Who's Vaughn Crowe? Who are you at this point? After you've done college, right? You had your fun, right? Do all of the things that you do in college, right?
Yeah.
But who are you coming out? And I only ask because you have a lot of kids today, a lot of students who can't find jobs. They can't find their place in our economy coming out of school. Here they are, they invested all this time, they get out and they don't have any idea what to do, who to call, AI taking jobs. Like, who's Vaughn Crowe coming out of college? What trait did you use to jumpstart your career?
I appreciate that question because my college experience was also one that was full of, it was an interesting time. I would say that Vaughn Crowe coming out of college in 2002 demonstrated pivot and flexibility. I went to Colgate to play football and it was an amazing experience, cut short due to injury. Became a student. 2002 was a terrible time in the market to get a job. Fortunate enough to have landed in the insurance business. And at every moment along the way, one, I was surrounded by great friends and love. I'm a big believer in that. But then the second part was like deep down in yourself, as my dad would say, man, you got to play the hand you're dealt. Football goes away, pivot, go and become a student. Job market crazy, pivot, take what you can get. And so that flexibility, that grit, that desire to win is like a trait that I entered Colgate with from Weequahic High School to a trait that I had left Colgate with. And those are traits that I carry with me today as a father, as a husband, as a son, and as an investor.
Yeah. When you look at it, again, you left from insurance and then you get into the investment business because you end up at Ray Chambers' family office,
That's
right? And Ray Chambers, local businessman in New Jersey, very low key. It's very hard to find a lot of stuff on Ray Chambers, but very low key. But here you are in his family office helping run his investments. How do you get that job and what are you learning?
Not a lot of folks get this story, but I started my career, as you mentioned, at Chubb Insurance Company, and all of my buddies were what I thought having these amazing jobs in private equity, making a boatload of money. And I was like, man, I think I'm just as smart as these guys. And when we go out to dinner, they're footing the bill and I'm counting the pennies, So I called Ray Chambers, who I had known because I was Boys and Girls Club New Jersey Youth of the Year, and he was a benefactor to the organization. And I said, hey, I want to do something a little different. And I'll never forget these words at the Pierre Hotel in Midtown East. He said, come work for me. And I said, Ray, what would I do? He said, I don't know, but you have some skills I think we can all use. Do it for a year, and we'll reconsider what your next steps look like. Well, 1 year turned into 15, a balance of philanthropy, doing good, as well as investing, which is doing well. And so it was learning from one of the best private equity professionals of his day, often catalyzed the industry. I took a chance, a little risk, to go and learn from one of the best. He's native of Newark. He went to public school in Newark. A lot of the things that I can relate to. So I cut my teeth there on a cold outbound phone call to a very influential guy who said, I don't know, but you got some skills that I can use. And 1 year turned to 15, and then that gave me the courage, that experience, to go and launch NVP Capital with my partner, Dan.
And what skills you think he was looking for that you revealed?
He hasn't answered that question yet. But whatever they...
What do you think it is?
Yeah,
right? You were the guy.
You're right. I think, this ability to, you may have heard this before, to connect dots, to understand people, to do things with a level of excellence. And that is everything from managing card stock of your thank you notes. Something as simple as that is a real lesson, to going deep in scrutiny and evaluating an investment. And remember what I said to you earlier, Jabari, about what does, the history class with Mr. Tram, what did that teach me? It's never too late and take some risk. That lesson kind of manifested itself in what I demonstrated with Ray. It's like, yeah, I'm willing to take risk. I've taken it all my life. It's like, what do I have to lose? I think I can, I'm candid, I'm direct, I'm confident. And any other thing I can learn, at least I think I can. I'm going to make some mistakes along the way, but as long as you're willing to stick with me, we'll have a good time. And I think that's what he saw, but at some point we should ask him.
Now, listen, it might be your confidence. I mean, not too many people pick up the phone nowadays and call. And I always tell young kids, closed mouths don't get fed.
That's right.
You have to ask. Yeah. People who don't ask don't get.
That's
right. And so the fact that you made that call, you think that was probably what impressed him too? Because I don't know how many people will call Ray Chambers and say, I want a job. Can you hire me?
Yeah, well, the other reality is that maybe this is the power of it. I didn't call asking for a job. I called asking for insight and advice. I was 25 at the time, and I was looking to pivot. And so engaging with a guy of that stature to just say, I want some advice, here's my vision, here's what I want to do. To reach out to him, knowing my history and background, I'm not sure how that would have gone had I called saying, I want a job, I want to work directly for you. It's in today's world, and he's big on this, and something that I've learned from both my father and from Ray, relationships do matter. Candor, humanize people. And so I'm not sure if that relationship would have brought itself to bear had I called looking for something specific. Now, there are points in life where specificity and clarity and directness matters, but there is a beauty of living in the ambiguous, which I've learned along the way.
Yeah. Your partner, Dan, he calls you the connector, right? When we were talking in your office, right, and he said he's the connector. Why do they call you the connector? Dan is he's right in his observation because I love it.
Yeah. Right. And I do believe that there is power in human connectivity. It's just, again, AI gets all the headlines, but when he and I joined forces, it was whiteboards, it was computers of saying like, hey, how do we make 1 + 1 = 3? And double down on a relationship that I had from 15 years ago. And let's see if we can bring that alive. It's probably liken it to my dad. He was a connector. And so it's a skill set, hard to quantify sometimes, but I love it. I think it's important. And he's watched us now make investments and raise capital, leveraging our equal superpowers, and that being perhaps one of mine.
Yeah, that's your connector.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so, and I think it's beyond Dan, who's a great barometer because we've now been together for 5 years, and before that playing a bunch of golf, etc. But if you ask our founders, who are the part of the portfolio that I have some direct responsibility for, they too would say, this guy will plug you in where he can. What good is having a network in these relationships and you don't unlock them? It has happened for me over time. So what good is it for me not to try to make 1 + 1 = more than 2 for founders, for friends, for family members? That's what, my real life story over the weekend, Jabari. My nephew, he's 15 months, my great nephew, my niece is his mother, had some challenges, some real challenges, family crying. I called this person, that person. you got to use it for your good, right? And that's family. And I would do the same for my founders. I would do the same for those who are close to me. If you have it and you trust what you're using it for, it can be a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you guys are also, you're giving money, but those founders, those entrepreneurs, right, who you connect, you also have to say yes, right? If you have this entrepreneur with a great company, has all these VCs competing to get some of that equity to put money in, and he says, Vaughn, why should I take your money? What do you tell this great founder with this phenomenal startup AI enterprise software?
Yeah. So one, they should understand that we're investing in them, right? We have obligations and we're in this thing together. And so when they see Vaughn, first they got to connect with me. Like, is he a good vibe? You know, do we share, are we aligned on the interest of this business? And that founder is also probably saying, is he aligned with me? So taking the extra time to get to know the founder is part of my personal process in evaluating the founder. And then it is, once you understand that person, you understand the company, you understand the market and the product that he or she are building, then the mind map starts to work. And you start to demonstrate that early on in the process. You're building in financial services. Well, let me introduce you to these 4 people. And, oh, okay, Vaughn, thanks. But then you do it. And it's the light bulb. For me, some of these founders are like, oh, like, this guy is actually doing what he said he would do. You know, there are a lot of sophisticated investors out there, but sometimes at the core, Jabari, of winning a founder is just making your word your bond. Just doing what you say. We have capital, we have expertise, but will you do? Here's the help I need, Vaughn. I can help you. Then help me. Then do it. Bring the network to bear. And we do that as often as we possibly can. And the more we do it for our founders, that word will continue to spread. That when a founder is talking to another founder, you should go talk to Vaughn. He wants to be helpful. You should go talk to NVP Capital. They've got this galaxy. They bring it to bear. They do what they say they'll do. Oh, and yeah, they got money. They got a great set of LPs. They get the model. They're aligned with our interests. But those guys care. Those guys want to make money. They want to do well. They want to do good. And they'll do anything within their power to unlock that value for you, the founder. That is the message we want folks to have and understand about me and about what we are doing at NVP Capital.
Yeah. Just make sure you emphasize we have money. Just emphasize that. And don't tell them you're a Cowboys fan like me, right? They might get off the off-ramp, right?
No, listen, we all make choices. We all make sure we had a good run. To see that 96, again, last time we won a Super Bowl,
That's right.
96 was an amazing year.
If we were betting, you put the $500 on the Cowboys, right? With allowed bets back then, right?
That's true. I probably wouldn't have done that, but I would continue. 96 was a big year.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Well, listen, get you out of here on some fun stuff. $1 million question. I'm sure you made $1 million before. You're an investor. How did you spend $1 million?
Well, I'm a big family guy. Mm-hmm. I've got 5 siblings, 10 nephews and nieces, 2 stepkids, and a wife. So whatever capital that comes in to the Crowe household, the Vaughn and Cecily Crowe household, there's a redistribution over time to my family. And so everything from giving cars to my nephews, to supporting scholarships, to sending kids to camp. And then there are personal interests that I have, like golf, right? Like sporting events.
And like buying Jordans.
Like amazing things. My Jordan, I've traded the Jordans for some other things, largely because, like I give the Jordans now to my nieces and nephews. But I still have a pair of retro 6s in the closet that I wear every now and then.
So $1 million on family. I mean, obviously, and the student loans, all that, it adds up.
It does.
Right? Yeah. When everybody has a problem, you call Uncle Vaughn, right? Uncle Vaughn gonna take care of it.
And that's a burden. That
it is.
But I accept it.
Yeah.
I accept it. I mean, on Veterans Day, I was reminded last night at this event that my grandfather fought in World War I, right? And I've never met him. Never met him. But the only thing I can judge him on is the source of my existence, which is who is Doris Crowe. Man was special. If I have to judge him based on my mom. So I'm standing on the shoulders of folks, family, who I've never met. So I gladly accept the burden of taking 2 a.m. calls to help my great nephew, to sending kids to camp and giving back to the community. That is a lesson that I've learned from my parents, amplified by what I've been given, and then that experience with Ray and his family office, and even what we're doing today, where we have money to invest, we're going to generate returns, and we include the community in our carried interest to make sure that we are giving back to the community, as I think many of us have done and should continue to do.
Yeah. AI apps, right? Because you're in the AI, software. So if you had to give me Vaughn's top 3 AI apps that you use daily, right? What are those top 3 AI apps?
Yeah, so I use the platforms. I'm an OpenAI, ChatGPT person. Gemini is embedded into my email system. I use Granola, which takes notes for me on a regular basis. And there are probably a couple more that I've yet to activate, but for now, those are the ones that I use. And then I have an agent that I've used. I use Chat, OpenAI, and others to create an agent. So those are my go-tos that when I need information real time, super helpful.
Yeah, while we're here, anything that anybody's not talking about or not enough people are talking about on the AI front that still is keeping Vaughn Crowe and Dan and the NVP team up at night?
It goes back to what's happening in particular verticals, legal, manufacturing, industrial. I think we're going to watch the power of AI create enormous efficiencies in this space. We were, not to promote my own book, but we were early in this investment called Upwell, which is using AI to manage account receivables for the trucking business. Very early on, like 22 or 23, maybe 22, where we went in and saw this vertical being wildly disrupted. So if I am the sophisticated investor, or if I am, my nephews and nieces, look at what I say by verticals. Look at the legal industry. Look at the healthcare industry, and look at sports. Right? Look at particular sectors and industries that you're interested in, and just watch what's happening. But don't be a passive watcher. Actually take that back. Be an active participant. The resources are so available to us that you have to just use them. And so that's what I'm curious. When I look at the parallels to what Dan and I are building, industries that are legacy, that will be disrupted. And those are the industries that we should all be paying attention to.
Yeah, well, listen, I get chatty on this, right? The difference between a good AI app and a great one off of my favorite book, Jim Collins' Good to Great. What's the difference? Vaughn Crowe's difference between a good AI startup company and a great one?
Are you doing the work and asking yourself the question, are you solving a real problem, or are you following an ordinary trend? The founders who are taking the time to say this is a real problem and it can be upended by what I'm building, here's why. I would like them to also be responsible AI builders, which is important. But if I can spend some time with a founder doing that, doing the work, doing the research, testing, etc., has an earned secret into a particular space, that person or those people will be great in building the next AI company. The person who may generate a return or no return is following a trend. Hey, manufacturing, shoelaces using AI. I think this can be done. I think this is needed. It's like, help me understand that market size. Why you? Why are you the right person to go and do this? And you have to prove that out. So I think the person that we're looking for and who we equate to having the potential to be great and build big companies, they are just fearless. They are wild. They don't take themselves too seriously, but they want to build a massive company, and they understand that they're building a company that will solve a real pain point responsibly that has enormous upside. Yeah. That's who I think will win in this space.
And on their break, they're not afraid to watch Woody Woodpecker with Vaughn.
You know what? I might end up having a founder offsite.
Yes.
And we're going to start with
Watch Woody Woodpecker
Woody
episodes.
Woodpecker, like create an image of like Woody Woodpecker and a pair of Jordan 11s listening to Reasonable Doubt.
There you go. Or Clinton Crowe. There you go. Vaughn Crowe here at the Enterprise Zone at the Nasdaq. 80 million raised for NVP Capital. Vaughn, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.